Hey everybody, it's Marty, and welcome to the first video of the new year. Although technically my New Year's video was on New Year's Day, so, kind of. Anyways, I've been thinking about what to do more videos on, and lately I've been feeling like I don't want to half-ass videos anymore, at least not in terms of what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, I always put in genuine effort to make it good. But sometimes it feels like I'm just slacking. That's kind of just how it's been feeling lately. So today I decided to talk about a topic that means a whole lot to me and probably a lot of you people out there. And that is my personal history with video games. So I am a 90s kid. I've mentioned this, I think, many times in passing, but I grew up in the 90s, 1991 specifically. I was born a young Loki. I actually even have a picture right here. Yeah, that's me as a baby. Incredible. But gaming is a huge part of my life, not as a career thing, really, but I love gaming. I love playing video games. God knows I play way too much Elden Ring nowadays. God, way too much. But I want to talk about a brief history of, my gaming. Now, the first gaming memory I even recall, even remotely, was me and my family being in the basement of our old house, sitting down playing Mario Brothers 2, Doki Doki Panic, on a NES. I remember I picked Luigi because as a kid my favorite color was green and I just really liked Luigi, and it was just, he's still probably, like, I prefer him over Mario. No offense to Mario though. Love Luigi. And just I played him, but I couldn't do it. My brother was the only one out of like 5 of us that could like beat the first boss and then move forward. Although I think Luigi's kind of wavy jump controls were always kind of an issue. But yeah, that's the very first memory of gaming I recall. And then I remember my dad came back from a trip. I'm pretty sure this was the case. My dad came back from a trip, and he brought with him a Sega Genesis. That's right, Sega Genesis. Glorious. He came back with a Sega Genesis and a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And me and my brother played the shit out of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We played it an insane amount. I was always Tails, and we would always like do that competing stage that you could do in Sonic 2, and I would try to win. But the thing is, usually, my brother was the bigger gamer. At least when we were kids, he was the bigger gamer. I was just kind of following along because, younger brother, older brother. That's the thing. To be honest, I have another sibling, a sister, just to clarify, just youngest out of 3. And yeah, so I would play whatever my brother played. I'd watch whatever games he was playing, and it just kind of built up over time, my love for gaming. So Sonic I played a lot. I never really got good at Sonic 2. I think I'm okay at it now, but I've never gone past the second stage with like how finicky the boss battle is. I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can do it. It's just I remember not being able to do it as a kid very well at all. And then we reach an evolution, a peak of gaming altogether. That's right, the Super Nintendo. Now, if you've seen my video on YouTube, I did 2 videos, actually. I did one video called I Found My NES, and the other video called I Found My Super Nintendo. That is still here. You can't see it. It's just off camera, right there, literally. That's why I have the controller right here with me. And the Super Nintendo I play to this day is the same Super Nintendo I grew up with. I played many games on it. Not a whole lot of memories. I think the most I remember playing on Super Nintendo was like the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. I played a lot of Super Mario World, especially. Loved Super Mario World. Still love it to this day. I think Super Mario World is my favorite Mario game ever made. It's way too fun, and I love it. I love it so much. But the point is, the Super Nintendo, the way I list my consoles. Okay, well, before I move on, let's take it easy. Take it mellow. Take it mellow. Keep it mellow. So for me, console, I never really got at the exact right time, at the time that it was prime for the time. I mean, I'm pretty sure I got a second chance. It's not necessarily late, but like fairly late in comparison to others. My Super Nintendo was, I think, just right about the time. Because again, they were still selling the games. The games were still on shelves at gaming shops and Toys R Us and shit like that. So like that was still there. So I was there in the prime time. I don't really think I ever had a proper modern console right when it came out until middle school. But I'll get to that in a sec. So yeah, so I had the Super Nintendo. I loved it, and then my brother lent out our library, and we lost fucking everything except for NHL. What was it? I think it was 1997. I think I can't remember. Honestly, I don't know. But it was an NHL game. I still really enjoyed it. Like, despite just having one game for our Super Nintendo, it was actually really, really fun. It was a really fun hockey game, and I every once in a while I want to go back to it, and play it. It's so fun. Such a fun game. But yeah, that was like the last thing in our collection. So then, moving forward, so one day, like it was around Christmas time, and we had an opportunity to jump on the new console market for the first time. Our mom and dad are like, "Hey, we'll get you a new console. What do you want?" And we were basically, the time was right about the time where the GBA had just come out, or yeah, it had just come out, but the N64 was still on the market. You'd still go to like Walmart or Best Buy and buy a N64, and I wanted an N64. Well, not necessarily. It was kind of just going along with what was available. But basically, we were in the shop and we saw an N64, and I'm thinking, yeah, I want this. Like, again, it's way past the time of getting it. The GameCube and PlayStation 2 were on the rise already. And it was just like, yeah, but it's something we can play together. And then my brother somehow convinces me, let's not do that. Let's get one Game Boy Advanced that we can share between the two of us, the two gamers. Just to clarify, my sister does play video games, but she's not like massive into video games, especially not nowadays. But just to clarify, like so for Christmas that year, me and my brother had to share a Game Boy Advanced and a copy of Wario Land 4, which is one of my favorite Wario games of all time. And that is just huge. Going back a little bit, because I forgot to talk about it. So, during the time of the Super Nintendo, we also had a Game Boy. I can't remember. Sometimes, my memory isn't the greatest, and I will always know exactly when I got the thing that I got, but the Game Boy was definitely a part of my childhood. So was Pokemon Red and Blue, although I didn't get to play them much because my brother was a selfish dick sometimes as a kid, so I didn't get to play Pokemon a whole lot of time. But yeah, we had this Game Boy. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was dark green with black buttons. Not the original gray, but dark green with black buttons, and we had it for a very long time, and I don't know what happened to it. I maybe it got broken or something else, and just to show I'm still collecting. Classic Game Boy with what's inside? Harvest Moon. Yeah. But yeah, so we did have the original Game Boy. I remember playing, I think Gargoyle's Quest. Yeah, Gargoyle's Quest was the one game that I remember the most, aside from Pokemon, and so many others. But yeah, so just to clarify, Game Boy was there, but this time we got Game Boy Advanced, and the games were kind of scarce. Again, it's kind of the situation. You have 3 kids. It's not always easy to get a lot of games, for birthdays or Christmases, but we did get what we got. I remember they would get me and my brother at least like one game each for Christmas and a game for our birthdays. And I remember for my birthday that year, the following year after getting the Game Boy Advance, I got Pokemon Sapphire, and we also got I got Lord of the Rings, Two Towers for GBA, which isn't great, but I have so many great memories playing it, like throughout the Christmas break and constantly. I love it. I loved it. I still love it. I still like it a lot. Like, it hasn't aged well, but it was a really fun game when I had it for a Game Boy Advance. God, not a whole lot else. Like Sapphire we had, and then it kind of just stopped there. We started with the Game Boy Advance for a long while, and then eventually the DS came out. This was around the time I was just like at the end. I can't remember if I'd started high school yet, or if this was like at the end of middle school. It was somewhere in between there, and the DS had come out. I still have my original DS. I don't know where it is at the moment, but I do have my black DS Lite. Now, if you're thinking that certain things are out of sequence, it's because that's how it was. At least how it was for me and my brother. Again, until my brother started working and like got a job and was able to have income and stuff, our consoles were basically just limited to what our parents could give us at the time. And I'm sure a lot of people growing up in the 90s, that weren't rich, know what I'm talking about. One new game console maybe like once every few years, and that's reasonable. I think that's very reasonable in comparison to like how it is nowadays, where it's just, my fucking god, like big three and more sometimes. But yeah, so I got a DS with a copy of Mario 64. I still have it. It is the first time I ever played Mario 64, and I played a lot of it. I love it. I still love the game very, very much. God, it's so fun. I do also have the All-Star, like 3D All-Stars for Switch. So now I have a copy of the original along with it. But yeah, so that's how it started. And then our library just gradually grew. I got like this one Spyro game this one Christmas. And it just, it went on like that. I have a huge DS library, just to clarify. I'm going based on like what I really remember very clearly. One Christmas I remember my brother gave me they released these 2 Dragon Ball games. So it was an adventure game, but rather than making it for controls, it was a stylus specific game, which pissed me off a lot. Like that one was okay. I remember one year I got what is it, Mega Man Star Force 3. So yeah, good memories of the DS. But yeah, like just good console. I like it. This is a black DS I bought for myself like years and years ago, like for $20 at an EB Games. God, I miss those days. What is in here? Spyro Shadow Legacy, right there. Yeah, that was the game. I've had it since that Christmas. Anyway, so now we enter when I finally started having a job and having disposable income, and it just so happens at that exact time. Sorry, gotta rewind a little bit. I'm very frazzled right now. I apologize. I'm going back and forth in the timeline because I am a frazzled person. Sorry. Before the DS and the 3DS, for one birthday, I wanted a console more than anything. I wanted a modern console. I wasn't like a greedy kid. I didn't ask for a lot of major stuff. Usually it would be like manga or a winter jacket or something. But this one year I wanted a GameCube. I wanted a GameCube more than anything else. And also something I didn't mention was that throughout my life, I've always collected Nintendo Power. Not super consistently, like it was never as consistent as it should have been, but basically I've had like years-long runs of Nintendo Power. I still have a bunch of old issues, and I love Nintendo Power. I wish it hadn't ended, but yeah, so Nintendo Power was a big part of my life too. And I remember that one year, I can't remember, I think it had to have been like grade 7, or I think actually grade 6 it was. I asked for one. I got it with a copy of, actually it was a GameCube that came with a copy of Metroid Prime. Yeah, so it was the Platinum GameCube with Metroid Prime, and also my mom and dad gave me a copy of like the new Spyro game at that time. That wasn't very good, but yeah. So that was great. I didn't collect a whole lot. I collected like a handful of games for my GameCube. I remember getting like Harry Potter and the Wizard of Azkaban, Wind Waker, Star Fox Adventure, and now my collection's like even bigger than before. So yeah, so that was my GameCube. Very small, but again, that's kind of how it was. Anyways, moving forward, Mark finally has a job, so he can actually buy consoles. And I remember they were selling the original 3DS at Best Buy, and I wanted it so bad. I finally had a job, finally had disposable income, so my mom went to not Best Buy, sorry, Costco. So my mom bought me it, and here it is. This is the original 3DS. You can still see some like shines and scrapes, and the webcam I'm using. And also, I stuck a Japanese Yokai Watch Busters sticker on it. I thought it looked cool. Yeah, no, this is my original 3DS. I've played the hell out of this. Wind Waker, sorry, Ocarina of Time was the first game I got on the 3DS. I played the hell out of that. I love Ocarina of Time. It is my favorite Zelda game of all time. And then my DS collection was actually quite vast. Actually, like my DS collection was like huge. I got a big library, but again, it was one of those things where it's just like I definitely played it a lot. I remember I got like every single Kirby DS game that came out. I remember I got the Kid Icarus. Was it Uprising? I can't quite remember. And then I got like, yeah, I got a bunch of games. I got like Ocarina of Time. I already said that. Ocarina of Time. I got Majora's Mask. And yeah, I also got a bunch of digital games on this thing too. So like just, yeah, classic. And then that's kind of where it stopped for a while until I think a year later. A year later, my friend, got to turn back the clock a little bit. I'm sorry. Got to turn one last time. We got to turn back the clock. I'm sorry. I keep getting ahead of myself. What is wrong with me today? So, as I said, when my brother started working, we finally got to get more modern consoles. So along with my GameCube, my brother was able to buy a PlayStation 2, which is my second favorite console of all time. I have a huge PlayStation 2 library. I have an original PlayStation 2 with the disc slot pulling out rather than just you press the button and it opens up. But yeah, I had a PS2. I love it. I still love it. Again, I've already said it's my number 2 favorite console. Like, I fucking love the PS2. So many good games, so many good memories. So many good times. God, I love it. I love the PS2 so much. I played the PS2 so much. Oh, God. Yeah, love it. So yeah, that was the PS2. That was PS2 era. And then, anyways, back to what I was talking about. So after I got my 3DS, very settled for a good while, and then a couple of years later, Nintendo came, or not Nintendo, what the hell am I talking about? Sony. Sony came out with a new handheld console. Just to clarify, I did have a PSP, but the PSP I used was my sister's my sister barely played video games, so I just kind of just used it for myself. So that was kind of a whole thing. But this one was absolutely mine. I think this was like the first console I ever bought like 100% on my own, aside from the 3DS. And that was the PS Vita. My friend, fucking bastard, let me play his PS Vita. He let me see how cool it was, how awesome, how you could like play some like retro PlayStation 1 games on this thing. I don't regret buying it. I really don't. It's, I think, a good console. You can still buy stuff on it, actually. It's not like perfect and everything, but I love it. I love it just for like the times and the memories, and that's why I still have it. I'm never getting rid of my PS Vita. I'm gonna keep it forever because I really like the console. Sure, it's not perfect, and I'm gonna be honest. Like some of the console exclusive stuff wasn't great, but the PS Vita was definitely worth the money, in my honest opinion. So, PS Vita. Now, where do we go? Well, the last console I ever asked for as a birthday gift, because when I started working for myself, I kind of just realized that I could buy anything I wanted for myself. That's kind of how it was always, how I always viewed it. So, for like one of the last big like birthday presents I ever asked for was a PS4. My mom and dad got me a PS4, and I love it. And it's not here. It's over there by the other big TV. Love it. Fucking love the PS4. It's not as timeless to me as like a PS3 is, because I think the PS3 I have better memories of, but the PS4 was awesome, and I still have it. I still play games on it, and I still like the fact that like some even games that are released for PS5 can also be played on PS4. So that's, they're releases for it on PS4 is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. Now, let's delve... Sorry, this is a very long video already, but let's delve deep into my retro collection. So, around the time that I started working again, I found my old consoles, and I invested in some new ones. Like, I love the NES, like the classic gray box NES, but there's a lot of issues with it. And eventually I got sick and tired of like having to jostle it around or trying to fix it in any way known to man. I got furious. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to buy a new NES. I'm going to make sure it's a top loader because it'll be worth the money. And even if it's expensive, I'll probably never have to replace it. And that's where I got an NES top loader. It is my number 3 favorite console now, actually. So Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2, NES. When I got that console, I would buy up anything I could find. Again, this was around the time that retro collecting had become like a huge thing. Like people like James Rolfe and like other gamers had stepped into YouTube and like exploded the nostalgic video game collecting era for all of us. And I just love the NES. It is my 3rd favorite console, and I think when I don't have my Super Nintendo set up right next to me on this on this tower, I'm usually playing the NES. I love the NES, man. The NES has so many good games. Not like, again, Super Nintendo is still my favorite console, but the NES is so fucking good, and it's such a good console, and it has so many solid games on it. But if you're going to invest in an NES, I'm going to tell you this right now. Get an NES top loader. It is worth it for any amount of money you spend on it. I can't even remember how much I spent on it. It was probably like over $40. But the NES top loader, fucking great console. If you want to play NES games, but without any frustrating shit to deal with, get the top loader. It's really, really good. And that's kind of where that's kind of where our story ends for right now. At this point, I think the most modern console I have is the Nintendo Switch, which I play constantly, actually. I think I played the Switch more than I played my PS4, to be perfectly honest. And PC gaming. So, as I've said, as you probably went throughout this long-ass video, I have had my hand in almost every single console in history. Also a little bit of the Game Gear, just to clarify. Yeah, I played a lot of consoles, and at this point in my life, I think it's pretty clear that console gaming is difficult. If not in a general sense, in terms of just cost. Like, cost for modern games has gotten fucking ridiculous at this point. I'm sorry for swearing. But it has. We used to be able to buy a new console, buy a fucking Super Nintendo, and get a new Super Nintendo game for like, what? I don't know. Probably still like $50 at the very least, but inflation? Like, are you kidding me? And it's just not worth it anymore, man. It just isn't. I love gaming, and I swear to God that I will collect every single modern Nintendo console as long as they keep coming out. But the fact of the matter is, what seems more financially viable? Is it good to just go buy the new consoles every 5 or 6 years that they come out? Or is it better to just invest money into a computer so that you can play at least a chunk of the new games that comes out? Like, that's the sacrifice overall. At this point in my life, I am significantly more of a retro gamer. I collect more retro games than I do modern ones, except for on Steam. Steam has a lot of really good deals a lot of the time. And that's kind of the situation. I find it ridiculous. It's hard. It's hard to be a gamer nowadays, just in terms of collecting alone. I'm not saying anything. But yeah. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this huge dive into my gaming history. I know I got kind of carried away a little bit there, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you realize now how much I genuinely love gaming. I've been playing games since I was a kid. I said it earlier. So, yeah. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.